Twisty and the Spiz. It's been a minute since I got to jam with my man, Dr. Phil D, the Dieter, the D with the twizzle to the dizzle. Man, I got Phil Dieter here. I got to ask you the first question, man. Are you staying abreast of what's going on with all the school stuff and the board stuff and all the chitter chatter out there?
I'm keeping lightly connected. Trying not to invest too much time into that, Yeah, seems like a lot of back and forth and shooting inward that is happening unnecessarily, right? And so,
What is your take on
I,
what's your take on the boards? Because I'm going to share mine real quick because I had this conversation with Austin Cohen earlier. I'm going to say this lovingly, and anyone who hears this, you take this the wrong way, I don't give a fuck shit because it's me. In the last 20 years of chiropractic, I think we've put out, and look, you can argue, you could defend because you've worked in the institution, the school,
sure.
you know. I blame schools that we've put out a lot of people that maybe shouldn't be chiropractors, and I like the board. I like a board that's. I look at what did we grow up as kids? I didn't pass the bar for a lawyer. Well, good. I don't want dummies coming in the profession. That's my take. Is that if we can weed out people and like, dude, if you can't afford $2,300 as a grad student at 27, 28 years of age, and to fly out to Greeley, Colorado, I might be wrong, and I'm okay being wrong, dude. That's the other side about me. But what's your take on that stuff?
Well, I agree. We have a fundamental problem in chiropractic in that we basically have institutions that are so tuition driven that they have to lower the requirements to some extent to get
Sell more students.
to sell more students, right? And so subsequently, it's created an issue with the amount of attrition that we've had, with people coming into the profession and being like,
The 5 years.
this maybe really wasn't for me, kind of thing, or I didn't know what I was getting into, which, yeah, you should have been vetted a little bit harder, in my opinion, on the front end. And so having those board exams there to vet people to some extent, I think is an important piece of the puzzle, right? And I agree with the expense piece that falls on a deaf ear for me because
Yeah.
at this point, you've invested this much. What's another $2,500 kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? And I've listened to Carlos talk and Dr. Bagazian, and I'm sensitive to the idea that, putting on these tests all over the country has made it really difficult to hire a ton of temporary employees for a short period of time. And that makes it challenging to be able to deliver equitable testing and things of that nature. So, I'm sensitive to that conversation. I really feel like, like you said, I wish that the chiropractic colleges could do a better job of vetting people. Now, I understand, you always hear C is for chiropractor, right? And I do know a lot of like good chiropractors that they weren't the most academically astute, right? So you have to be minimally academically astute to get to the chiropractic curriculum, right? And to get licensed and move forward, right? I don't think being the valedictorian always guarantees
Right.
that you're going to be the best chiropractor because it is something that requires personality, heart, rapport, the ability to promote, the ability to be athletic enough to have.
This is where Blue Chip comes in, man, right? And what you've done over there the last couple of years with helping to get the Blue Chippers, right?
And not only that, but then, that becomes a training question. Like, are they going into offices that can then make them successful, right? And that will continue to nurture. And we've seen tons of athletes who are blue star, who's the not Stefan Castle. I'm trying to think of the old guy from the 80s or 90s that went to the Knicks. Marbury. When I was a kid growing up, Marbury was supposed to be the greatest NBA player, right? And then
Yeah.
he kind of had an okay career, right? Because he didn't get into a system that helped him to thrive and become a Hall of Famer, right? So it's a very similar challenge and a very similar.
I wonder how many great adjusters that came out of schools that were naturally talented that did fail because of that, and maybe they just weren't given the systems, and that's what you're helping a lot of. So tell people what you help on both sides, because you're helping both sides, dude, which is really unique and cool.
Well, that's part of why I started the Filling the Gaps podcast is that, just in brainstorming it in my head, like, what am I really doing, right? And what I have found myself really doing is, yeah, I am trying to help people recruit. We do have this recruiting arm. I partner with Cairo Jobs to help people find associates and things of that nature. We got people adding their name constantly to the database. I do feel like there's less offices hiring than there were before. I think because some of them kind of got a bad taste of it in their mouth. But I do blame them to some extent for getting that bad taste in their mouth because they weren't prepared to take on an associate. They were expecting someone to come in, have it figured out, and hit the ground running and make them a ton of money, and they weren't really going to have to do much, but other than hit the play button on hire, right, or hit the hire button kind of thing. One of the things, and this is something I'd love to, if anybody ever wants this, or I'm happy to give it to them, I've created a chiropractic residency manual because I do think
chef's kiss. I see it's chef's kiss, dude.
Thank you, and I think that's where you have to have a training plan set up and ready to go. You have to be able to not only hire and recruit and hire the right person, but then you got to be able to train that person and get them prepared and help them become successful. It has to become more about them than about you. I think about like great managers, like Pete Rose is one of the guys. He was a player manager. Pete still wanted to make it about him a little bit more probably than like a Dave Roberts or something like that. But you have to be that player manager, right? You have to have that enough confidence in your mind and in your heart to be like, I've got people to serve and there's people for them to serve, but they need your help in lifting them up as well. And so being prepared to do that, and then having the checkpoints in place to meet on a regular basis, having your new patient acquisition systems on lock, because the other thing that I see all the time is, okay, well, what are you going to do to come in and get me new patients, right? What are you going to come in and do to make me more money? Well, that sort of idea, nobody's falling for that anymore, type of thing, right? And so the kids call it glazing. You're not going to glaze me, right? So don't glaze me into thinking you're giving me this great opportunity. But if you have new patient acquisition systems on lock, and then people can come in and be successful with those, well, now we're talking, right? Now we've got pieces of those puzzles ready to go. So setting the expectations, having a job description, all of those kind of things. That's what I help people with a lot. I was talking to somebody yesterday because I mine our database every week to find whoever's putting their name into our database, and I want to see who are they. Will they interact with me? Can I talk to them? Can I get a sense of what their experience is, what's their skill set, where they're looking to go, all of those kind of things. So I can bridge that gap for people. But then it's just a matter of, okay, when I ask somebody, okay, do you have a job description ready to go, and they haven't even thought about that, or send me a list of your expectations so that I can forward that on, and that's not ready to go. Nobody wants to reach out and contact you until you have your act together, or your shit together. Like
I think you've been in the forefront of. We've talked about this: the clear definitions, boundaries, and expectations being so finite. No one's a mind reader. And where do relationships break up? Any type of relationship. Oh, I thought they were going to do this. Well, no, that wasn't clearly defined, and it wasn't. I want to bridge back to what makes. Let's start with the student or the associate side. What is going to get an associate ahead in 2026 and beyond that make them more attractive, and then vice versa, what makes the clinic more attractive?
Well, the thing that I think students need to really focus on in the first year to year and a half of their educational process is figuring out, getting their palpation skills together, getting their adjusting skills together, right? Like getting comfortable with taking care of people. And that's I think a relatively simple thing to do, but it takes you going into the adjusting labs. It takes you going to palpation groups. It takes you maybe looking into outside seminars. There's some great outside seminars out there, MLS, that Arno started years ago and things of that nature.
Dan Lyons is on here. He teaches people how to do great Gonstead work in x-raying there. He's saying hi to you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of, I would love to connect with Dan more about that, because huge fan of the Gonstead work. That's one of the true systems in chiropractic that we have that's very regimented and that's very specific, and I appreciate the specificity of the adjustment and learning the specificity of the adjustment. And then also spending some time, learning the philosophy of chiropractic. You don't know how many employers ask me, high performing employers. I'm talking about people that do $500, $1 million a year.
Out in that San Jose area, yeah, right?
Yeah. They want to know, does this person have any understanding of the chiropractic philosophy, right? And so that's something that gets pushed down the road in a lot of cases because everybody wants to focus on the science. And we do have schools, that are pushing the chiropractic philosophy aside. But the chiropractic philosophy is so important when push comes to shove, because what happens when things aren't going well, right? Do you trust in the body's ability to heal itself, right? Is that something that you can continue to embrace and fall back on that worldview to move yourself forward, to move your practice forward, maybe to move somebody's care forward? Because healing occurs in so many different ways. It's hard to even quantify sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And that's another element I would say that's important for a new graduate to develop. If you're not, if you're a natural promoter or a producer, or you're very outgoing and you can build rapport with people, then that's probably going to come natural to you, because you can uplift people, and uplifting them and bringing them along in the journey is something that just comes easy to you. Now, those people can falter because they can get careless and things like that, and they get too full of themselves, and then all of a sudden they're out there swashbuckling on the landslide or something like that, and everything falls apart, right? And you got to build it back up. The other folks that are more, science oriented, they have to force themselves to become more outgoing and that type of thing. So I think those are some important skill sets that you can develop in the first 18 months of chiropractic school. Once you get to that halfway mark, now you got to get yourself ready for those board exams, right? And that's where I see the other piece of the puzzle that people start to fall apart with is, oh, I just want to keep focusing on the chiropractic. Well, yes, you got to keep focusing on the chiropractic. Now you have to add exam, diagnosis, all of the things that are required to exist in the system. Like this whole idea that we can exist out of the system, I think that's something that I would like to see I'd like to see that rhetoric be calmed down a little bit, because we're still in the system whether you like it or not.
I've been having this conversation with a lot of people who I think were wrongly told, and this is another thing that Dr. Phil is very skilled at mentoring, coaching, advising, consulting on, which is I've had conversations with my guys recently. Most of my peeps are guys, but look, the reality was, I'll share a behind the scenes secret. Do you remember Stacy Livingston? Did you ever meet Stacy Livingston?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Stacy, what's up, Stacy Livingston? We're sitting at Quest 7. This is the old BDC ballers group, right? Everyone who had million. And me and Stacy look at each other. I go, do you notice one thing? And he goes, yep. We both read each other's mind. I go, because the thing about BDC is we were preaching don't do insurance. But ironically, every baller client that was in Quest 7, guess what? Was a master of the insurance game and knew how to run the game of insurance.
Well, they had a mix, right?
Yeah.
They
weren't all insurance.
Also,
yeah,
get them into regular care and have people utilize either FSAs or cash dollars to get on like checkup plans, and things of that nature. So, that's the thing I think on the, like you said, on the consulting side, when I'm interacting with new graduates or people that have been about 3 or 5 years, that's what I've really honed in on the other side is, if you are just getting into insurance or struggling, like, how do I make this insurance thing work? How do I process the patients? What systems do I need to have in place? Like, that's what I can really help you with. Once you've gotten that kind of locked in, there's probably somebody else that's better for you than me, that's built it bigger or whatever. But I know I can help those people, get themselves.
Oh, dude, you're tremendous at it, man, and you get it. You get it from all sides levels of how to keep the thing, and also how to maximize for all parties. Which there's nothing wrong with that.
That's something too, because I was going to say that's where the merging. So I call it chiropractic necessity versus medical necessity, right? So you're learning all of that board stuff, right, to understand the medical necessity of chiropractic, because that exists whether you like it or not, right? But you have to hold on to the chiropractic necessity of chiropractic. So it becomes that discussion of, you're going to come in based on this criteria, right? And I know you're looking for these results. I love the chiropractic results stuff that you're doing too. I think that's so important in terms of driving people into our offices. But once we get through that, like, here's why it's important to still get checked. Here's why I get adjusted on a regular basis, right? Because to your point, the results. I like to play golf. I like to wakeboard. I like to snow ski. Like, when I go do those things, first thing I need to do is go get adjusted, do some stretching, all of those kind of things to help me, because I want to do that again next week. And if I don't do those things, then I'm not going to be able to do them. So do you want that in your life or not? Like, if you don't want that, then keep suffering. Fine, go ahead. I'll be here when you need me. Come on back. You always have a home here. But if you want to keep doing those things like I'm doing those things, then you should come in every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is, right? And so that's the mindset shift that I'm preaching in my office all the time, is utilizing chiropractic care as part of your life.
We got 3 minutes. We're gonna have you back on here in the next week or so because we got to keep going. I want this last 3 minutes. Who can you help? How can you help them, and what's the next step to working with you?
Yeah, if you're looking for associates, we have a very robust database now of people looking to get hired all over the country, right? If you have hired somebody or you're thinking about hiring somebody and you need help developing that list of expectations or developing that training system, hit me up. I'll send you my chiropractic residency manual. You can take a look and see what you think. Now, I'm willing to give that to people because I know it still requires regular conversation about like, how do I implement this? How do I maximize this, right? And so I've been trying to help people that are in that position bring all of those new associates into play and manage them correctly. And then certainly there's just some people that I've encountered because I've done so much work for the Chiropractic Association. I've worked in the school now for about 12 years at LifeWest Chiropractic College, that if you've been in practice a couple of years and you're trying to figure out how do I get my systems up to speed so that I can have some consistency of patients, I can have some consistency of income, well, then that's the other person that I feel like I can really help and that I do some of my best work with, because I just know that person's struggling. Now, that person's hard to get on board because they're already like, do I even have enough money to go grocery shopping this week, right? So how am I going to invest in, building my practice? But that's where, it's the faith over fear concept.
Dude, I love you, man. There's no one better out there to help you grow your practice from multiple levels, from bringing on better associates to being a better doctor with your associates to other things, including helping you get through the insurance game. If you're scared and fearful of that, there's no one better on that. Phil, we're going to have to, can you do the same time next week with me, brother?
I think. I'm going to be in Puerto Vallarta next week. How about 2 weeks?
Oh, poor buddy, poor buddy.
Well, it's Vicky's birthday. You
guys gonna do the lobster shit down there? That's the big thing down there, right? Lobster.
I'm going to the Hidden Beach, man. I'm going to Hidden Beach.
Yeah. Hey, man. I forgot. Kilometer 34, I think, has the best tortas. I don't know. You probably know better than me, but
I got my places, man.
You got your places.
So I got my Tacos Goose. I'm going to be going to and. Madalena, so
dude, the Baja side is so under. Everyone's Cancun or I love the Baja side, man. It's just a quick drive over through TJ, and you're ripping.
Well, for me, I can get
waves
there in 2.5 hours via plane from the Bay Area, from San Jose. So that makes it nice.
All right, love to you, man. We'll jam sometime in 2 weeks, brother. Thanks, man. Bye, bye.